Yeah, I think it's on recording. All right. So, hello everyone once again. My name is Arvat. I'm not gonna mention my last name a lot because maybe it's difficult to pronounce for some of you. So let's
I think, Val, you are muted. We're not able to hear you.
am I? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let's I'll give you just a brief introduction into all this, what this is about. So as you know, many of the Rbti practitioners have been trying to find a way to zero in on the organs affected in the numbers. Um, we, I personally don't know how Dr. Reams did it, but I think I have found a way around it. It's a slightly different way than what he did, but from the experience I have with the numbers, it's it gives you a pretty precise analysis. This is exactly an analysis. What I'm going to show you is not, well, it's not so much, maybe there is some intuitive part in it, but it's actually pretty logical. And if you could just wrap your head around this idea, you would be able to read any set of numbers. Maybe would be a little bit difficult to make an educated conclusion if the person is loaded with no-nos. So if they have lots of no-nos in the system, it would rack up the numbers a little bit, and it would be a little bit hard to understand what are the organs affected, because as you know, no-nos, they usually, most of the times, they change the numbers into a precise and clear pattern, which can be found for many people, and it goes around the same digits. For example, urine pH, as you know, in poor contamination is not in poor contamination, in direct poor consumption, urine pH is 5.3, and then saliva pH, it depends on the person. It will generally go up to 7.2, 7.3, and then the ureas would usually go up to 12/7, 12/8. Sugar would be a little bit higher because the proteins, the extra proteins in the system, they'll dehydrate, they will draw the water, so it can go up to 5. And the salts would be below 20 usually, because it's a 1 to 3 ratio in the poor consumption. So these numbers, you will find them with most of the people. There are some exceptions to it, and the little differences in 0.1 digit, 0.2 digits, which are found there, they are the 2000 and something differentials that Dr. Reen spoke about it. And in his precise mathematical analysis, even with pork and all the other no-nos, I think he was still able to zero in on the organs affected. Well, in this case, it's not so much. So basically, for an easier usage of this method, it would be very, very useful if you would take first the person off the no-nos. Secondly, this doesn't mean you can use this method and forget about everything else. It's actually not like that. I would recommend to you that you go all through the Dr. Reams tapes as much as you can listen to, because sound is not, it's poor quality, but what you can get out of it, it would still be great. It's better than nothing. And then on top of that, you could study some anatomy, study some physiology, study biochemistry of the human body. Dr. Reams mentioned a lot of times in the tapes, if you want to get good at this, you get your anatomy book and study it. Now, anatomy, yes, it's more about the places of the organs, but actually, I think he also partially meant, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm not. He also meant how those organs, not only they are where they are sitting, where they are located on, but also what do they do and how do they interact with other organs, and that's called physiology. And it's also biochemistry. So you'd have to study how it works in a living body. Now, once you could get this done little by little. Now, meanwhile, I'm gonna show to you. I have little. Let's see what I could use this. Okay, so these are. Let me see. This is a little graph I did. Okay, and you could see here are the pHs, how they evolve or how they move regarding reserve energy. So at all times, if you start at 100% reserve energy, you're going to have a 6.4 on both of pHs, right? This doesn't mean if you have 6.4 over 6.4, you're 100%. It's not like that. If you're at 6.4 over 6.4 and all the rest of the numbers are way out of perfect, you do not have the 100% reserve energy. Okay? Why is that? Because pH is not a measurable amount of quantity, it's of resistance. It's not quantity of calcium, it's resistance. You could have distilled water measuring 6.4, and you could have another water having up to 10 grams of salts per liter loaded with salts and still measure 6.4 over 6.4 because it has so many ions and so many anions and so many cations that they're balanced to a 6.4. It's like a speed, right? So once you go from 6.4, 100% reserve energy, it will first go up in the life of a person, and then it would go down. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that all people have to pass through this. You could have this amount, right? You could have 6.4 all through your most of your life and keep it like that way. What I mean by this graph is if at 20 years of age you are here and you have all the rest of the numbers are good, are perfect, and you have 100%. Now, if your pHs move slightly up, because they will move up first, unless there is some no-nos involved, they will always move up. This is a very good question. Why? If you could try to answer that for yourself, it would be really nice for you to understand all this. If you go through the basics of what the basics in Choose Life or Death and the basics that you have there in Dr. Bedou's book, I think you can find the answer to this, okay? Now, it will usually go up and then go back down, okay? So if you have a person 60 years of age and he has a 6.4 and the rest of numbers are good, it means it's not 100%. If the numbers aren't perfect, they're good, but not perfect, and the person is 6.4 with 60 years of age, chances are they're not 100%. You should understand this. They're more likely to be about 70, 60%, something like that. Now, this is very important when you look at the equation, when you're reading this, because a person with 70 years of age or 80 years of age with good numbers, it's not going to be the same for a person for 20 years of age, and even worse numbers. The person with 20 years of age could have a higher reserve energy, and they could get along fine with many other things they should not do, but more or less they would feel great. But a person who is old enough, say over 60, 70, then as he goes through this wobble, they'll have it harder. This is very important. Now, we'll pass slightly to a different thing, and then we'll put it all together, okay? Let's see, where was that? Okay, so some of you, I'll translate what's written on this. I had it for a class I did in Russian, okay? But I'll translate what, don't worry about this. Hieroglyphs, right? So some of you may have seen a picture of Dr. Bedeau. I think, if I'm not wrong, there was a presentation, there was a picture of it with a, this is the shape of the head, right? Seen from the top. So basically here you'd have the shoulders, and here you have the feet, right? So this person is looking that way. It's looking that way, okay? So what this means, that picture was about finding, based on the numbers, where the headaches will mostly act in, which part of the head. Now, here you would have in the front, you would have high sugar. Back of the head is low sugar. Right side of the head is ammonium, and left side of the head is a nitrate. So based on these numbers, you could tell where the person's more likely to have the headache. Okay, so you could have, let's say, the sea salt. We're talking about the sea salt, which is one of the most scary things for the Rbti practitioners today, right? Sea salt, it actually, if you could just think back, most of you could recall that it's mostly on the right side. And here is why. We have, with sea salt, regularly, we have low sugar, right? Back of the head. But most people actually, they have their, they are in the sugar dropping zone. It means it could go high, could go low, could go high, could go low. So actually, it could be the back of the head, it could be the front of the head, okay? Because sea salt, what it does is, first, it makes the pancreas overreact, and it causes an insulin flush, okay? The sugar drops. When sugar drops, alcohol drops. And when alcohol drops, the blood vessels, they contract. So when they contract really fast, what it's going to do is going to cause a headache, okay? So which one is going to be, on the nitrate or ammonia? Well, typically with a sea salt consumption in people with weaker systems, there are people which in which the sea salt does not do this. It does not affect them. But typically it would act more on the ammonium side, on the right side. So you're going to see typically people who have been eating sea salt, you can ask them, hey, have you been having headaches now and then on the right side? Or is your right ear hurting? They would usually say yes. If they have also high sugar, their vision could get a little bit blurry. So you'd have to take that in account. So this is how it acts on the head. Now on the nitrate, where you have higher nitrates, let's say. You could have, that's from the seafood, that's from the pork, and that could be from eating too many nuts, and then drinking something which would cause the sugar to go low fast, like lemon water, not lemonade, but lemon water, or eating nuts and then eating just a little bit of sea salt. It would cause the same thing, more on the right side. Okay, now we go a little bit back, and I'm going to explain the concept that I have right here and how it applies to the whole body. Now, this right and left thing, if you have been studying the Manti tapes and the Reams and Manti, I think there's a transcript. I think it was in the Michael Olsta's, Michael Olsta's materials, I believe it was, a transcript. Now, Manti and Dr. Reams talk about how to find the right and the left side in the body. It's a bit more trickier than that. It's not always ammonium versus nitrate and find which one is bigger or which one is farther out, because there are some other differentials that come in and act on that. Now, with if I recall correctly, Manthi said that once you have your saliva pH higher than your urine pH, and there are some other condition that he mentions about there, he said that it's gonna act more on the right side. And then he mentions about another pattern of numbers which is gonna act more on the left side. Now, with this, most of the times you would be able to find where the problem is located, I mean, on the body, right? Whether it's right or left, it depends on the chemistry. And sometimes the chemistry in the numbers, it could show you that one is affected more, but that doesn't mean the other one is not affected at all. So you could have a picture of numbers, a set of numbers, showing the picture that you have a problem more on the right side. This does not mean the person cannot have headaches on the left side. Okay? It's just more the right side is affected. And when you have the picture in the numbers, you see what's happening right now. You don't know what happened 10 years ago. Dr. Reams probably could. I can't yet. So what you have, you follow the numbers and you see where you follow the energy loss at the particular moment. So if the energy loss is happening right now in a place, in a zone, in a body, right now they're losing energy there. Doesn't mean necessarily you're gonna have pain there, or they're gonna have pain there. They could have the pain later on when the reserve energy drops below a certain level. Now, why do you have damaged organs? Why do you have, how can we zero in on the loss of energy with these numbers? It's because all the cells, which are alpha cells, right? They have 100% of reserve energy. Once they start losing energy, they go to delta cells. Okay. So once they start to lose energy, they go to delta cells, and some of the mineral that cell had and some other thing which is not a mineral, okay, but which is one of the most important chemical compounds in the body, and its amount is directly related to the amount of reserve energy. And when the body starts losing that, you'll have an energy drop locally, only in that part of the body. So with this equation, we are able to locate it because in the system, you would have a certain amount of mineral losing, right? It goes as heat, it goes as electricity, and it goes into the bloodstream and is expelled with urine. Okay. Now, we have such a graph here that I made. Okay. You see the body, right? And you see it's like a line, and it has certain numbers put on it. Now, this concept is actually not new. If you go into Bedou's book, you'll find something similar. Okay. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar, where he talks about reserve energy. Now, at the top of the head, we have 7.5. In some cases, Manthi talks about 8.0 being the top of the head. I don't argue with that. I just found that top of the head, from my own experience, more whatsoever, it's more found with 7.5. If you find it to be 8.0, I have no contradiction for that. You can use it if it works for you. For me, it works more in the 7.5. 8.0 is actually when the field, we have a field around us, right? So Doc used to talk about the field collapsing when it goes point of no return. And that would be, if I recall correctly, it was something about here, okay? Where the umbilical cord is, where the 6.4 is, okay? So you see here, when the field is collapsing, then you would have it at this area. Now, 7.5 top of the head, and I found 8.0 to be the field when it's losing energy. It's actually going above the head. So you have the loss of energy, still affecting the organs, still affecting the minerals, the vitamins, and so on and so forth, and the cells. But the field is actually above the top of the head. Okay. Bottom of the feet, you see, is 5.3. This doesn't mean the pH cannot go lower. It can and it will. Okay. Typically, people who eat seafood, when they eat lots of it, or they eat enough for the energy loss to happen to such extent, this number would go below, and it's gonna be, you can find it in the test, 5.1 with seafood. Okay, so it's actually lower than the sole of the feet. The field goes lower. Okay, it will still affect it. It will still affect the whole body. It's just a little bit out of the range. Okay, and I believe it was mentioned that the lowest it can go is 4.8. Yeah, so it's even lower. It can go even lower than that. Now, I know there are many concepts that I'm talking about right now. It may seem a bit confusing. Don't worry. As I keep going on, later on we'll have a questions and answers little bit session right here after I talk about all this, and then you would be able to ask your question. Okay, so right now, if you have any questions, just write them down, and I believe that by the end of it, you'll have most of your questions answered. Okay, now what's up with all this? Okay, so as I mentioned, where the umbilical cord is, I think there's a easier name in English for that. I don't remember it. I know it's maybe a 4-letter or 5-letter word. I don't remember it. Well, it's where 6.4 is, where the center of the body is. It could be a little bit above that, a little bit below that. Depends on the person. We are not equal. We are different, and that's amazing. Okay? So 6.4 over here. A little bit below that, it's going to be 6.0. 6.0, it's actually where the middles, I mean, just right below the female and the male organs, right? Where it ends. That's 6.0. 6.6, as you see here, it's actually where the solar plexus is, where the rib cage is, right in the center, okay? And then you have 7.0, it's about the zone of the neck right here, okay? And so on and so forth. So actually what I found is that you could have a set of the numbers, and it was very confusing to me because I was looking at a set of the numbers, and I remember doc reading it and saying, hey, there was a person having the pHs were about 5.5 or 5.6, both of them, and this is a brain tumor. How can it be a brain tumor with those numbers? Actually, it can. Now, what I found is the body can be actually divided into different sections, and when you will have a loss of energy, having a one section is going to affect another part of the body. When I was a kid, there was this fairly easy computer game. I remember you would I don't remember how it's called. Well, there would be a ball launching from the bottom of the screen, and there you'd have some mechanisms here directing it to the left, to the right, and it would make like this. Boom, 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 right? It would touch different parts of the body and going like this. Like if you imagine this person to be in a tunnel, right? If you would have another line here, and you have a ball starting from the bottom, and you would hit this wall, and they would go this side, then this side, then this side, then this side, and this side. So it's basically the same. Now, what I found is, if we take the main part of the body, which is above, right? It's usually above the navel. Okay, so we take the head. It's I made a circle. I draw a circle like this. Okay, you can draw it as well. If you will, you can make your own drawing of this if you want, if you wish. So then we have another circle. It starts about where the head starts. I mean, just below the neck, and it goes down up until the sternum, the solar plexus. Okay, and from there on starts the third circle. Okay, from the solar plexus, it goes all the way down to the crotch, where the crotch ends, and with males, and with the females, where the female organs end. Okay, that's the third circle. You'd have another circle here, the fifth circle, the fourth, yeah, the fourth, not the fifth. The fourth circle starts where the male and female organs end, and it goes all the way down to the knees. Okay, that's the fourth circle. And the fifth circle is the knees and everything below up until the soles of the feet. Okay, this is how it goes. Now with people, okay, if you have, like, I have a few set of numbers here. If you have your own set of numbers, we could try to look into it. We could try to look into it with the set of numbers that you have. Okay, but I have a few set of numbers right here. If you would write them in the chat, I would try to look for them. Okay, it's a bit, okay, here's the chat. And well, anyway, I'll try to go on and explain it. Now, for example, let me see what set of numbers I have here. Oh, look, this is a beautiful, well, it's actually a good set of numbers, but it is a set of numbers. It's the one below, okay? This one. We will not talk about sex. We will not talk about age, height, and weight. those two affect the reading, but we will not talk about them now. We will start slowly, and we will try to understand how this works, so you would get the concept. Now it's 4.0, 6.6 over 6.5, 17c, 4m, and 1 over 6. Okay? If you need time to write it down, write it down. So this is actually not too bad a set of numbers. It depends on the age and height and weight. Actually, there is, if you are a little bit into the Rbti, you would notice what's the biggest problem here. Anyone could tell? This set of numbers, what's the biggest problem here? You could turn on the microphones, speak.
Not drinking water.
Yeah, but it's actually not the biggest problem. It's the second biggest problem.
The number 1 over 6.
Yeah, that's true. This is the biggest problem right here. And this actually shows, if this would be a first test, it could show, depending on the age, height, weight, and sex, it could show there is a tumor growing. It's not growing fast, but it's growing. And let's see where most probably this is located. Actually, one more thing. Regarding this set of numbers, that's why you talk with them, with your clients. We are not the machines that only see a set of numbers and make our own conclusions. We can talk to the clients. If this person is on magnesium or a supplement containing magnesium, it could very well cause this. Okay, it could cause it. That's why we always ask. If they are not on magnesium, not on dolomite and stuff like that, then it's a big problem. It could show there is a tumor growing, and let's try to locate it. Okay, so we had 6.6 over, okay, we had 6.6 over 6.5. Now the rule of the thumb that I found to be working is actually most of the times you have to look for the urine pH. Okay, 6.6. This doesn't mean the saliva pH can be ignored. Actually, when you have a split pH, most of the times the biggest damage is done at halfway. So if you would have a pH of 7 and then a pH of 6, most damage would be done at 6.5, 6.6. In this case, we have 6.5 and 6.6. Urine pH is acting more, but saliva pH cannot be discarded. So we have something between 6.5 and 6.6. Now we look on the graph, you take your anatomy book and you study it and you look at it and you see 6.6 is about where the solar plexus is, right? We have 6.4 where I forgot how is it called. Well, the umbilical cord is, right? Can be a little bit more up, a little bit more down, right in the center of it. Now, 6.5 would be just between them. And it's actually, if you would study yourself, you have, I don't know if you see it. Well, I have here is the solar plexus, and here is the umbilical cord. So 6.5 would be about here. And that, on that line, we have the liver to the right. We have some part of the gallbladder. Okay, we have the stomach, And I think here is the side, here is the part where the pancreas is located. And then you have on the left side, maybe a little bit of the spleen. Okay. Now we had a sugar of 4.0. Okay. 4.0. What does 4.0 mean? Is the sugar dropping zone. This means that if this person would drink 2 extra glasses of water, or about that, depending on the weight, the sugar could be go to 2.0 or 1.8 approximately, right? So basically it would not be the back of the body totally, but it will be in about maybe the center of it, okay? Not in the on the front side, usually, typically. I'm not saying it's all the times, but typically, because if this condition started 5 years ago when this person had a high sugar, then it would be more to the front of the body. But if this person had about these numbers for the last 5-10 years, it's going to be more inside the body, in the center or the back of the body. Okay. If you would have here not 4.0 but 0.4 with let's say not 6.6 over 6.5, but it would be 6.5 over 6.4 or something like that. In this case, you would have usually the kidneys acting, because really low sugar is back of the body, and it's usually the kidneys. The kidneys are also located in this area, only that they are in the back of the body, right? Back of the body. Now, 1/6, it could tell you, 1/6, it could tell you you have more pressure on the kidneys right here, because this ammonia number is much higher than the nitrate. Okay. And usually when you have, I've seen a different graph with the spinal cord going from above to the, I mean from the top of the head, or from where it goes into the pons to, I think it went to the cervix, which is the end of the spinal cord. And there would be like referentials that whenever you have, when you have certain total amount of ureas, if you have total amount of ureas, let's say 10, it would be maybe somewhere in the chest area. If you would have like 20, 30, it would be more down. I don't know how accurate is that, but so as from what I observed, it's pretty much accurate, although not all the times. Okay. So 1/6, this tells you, 1/6, this tells you it's likely not a brain tumor. Okay. With brain tumors, you would have 1/2, 2/3, or something like that. 1/6, 1 plus 6, it's 7. It's a little bit higher. So it's usually not a brain tumor. It could be, but it's usually not. So we are looking right here, and we see there's higher ionization, a little bit of sugar, and 6.5. 4M, this is very important. Why is this important? It's because of this. If you would have here 7/6, and the weight would be normal, maybe a little underweight, it would be totally fine. It would be the most beautiful albumin number you could have. But if you have here a 1/6 and you have a 4M, if it's not caused by a diet, if it's not caused by taking magnesium, this is a pretty bad number. Why? Can you tell? Anyone?
You're not giving off your toxins. You're not clearing out.
Well, yeah, it could be. It could be. But this tells you about the fact that this person's diet is too restricted, is too narrow, and the gastric juice is weak, 1/6. Whenever you have a very, very low nitrate number, it means the strength of the gastric juice, even though you have a 6.5 here, remember, pH does not mean quantity. It means resistance. It means speed, okay? It's not quantity. It's not amount. It's anions versus cations. You could have a very dilute gastric juice with 6.4 or 6.5. And then you could have a really, really, really good amount of strength of the gastric juice, even with 6.6. Okay? Now this happens because when you have a really low nitrate, your gastric juice is very diluted. It cannot take up minerals. Okay? Here your cationic side is more involved. See, it's a good number, it's 6. Now with this 1, it means there is likely a tumor. This person not taking any magnesium or stuff like that. And the 4M is a bad number because it means cell exchange is not happening. It doesn't mean only that they are not getting rid of the old worn out cells, okay? Because those cells, they still, even if they are worn out, even if they are tired and all that, they are still doing they are likely still doing something. If they're not omega cells, if they're delta cells, they're still doing something. Now, to be replaced, they need mineral. This tells you the diet's narrow. They have a diluted gastric juice. Diet's narrow. So if you would have here a 4M plus, it would be great. If it's 4M, it's not so good. Okay, depending also on the age, height, weight, and so on. It's all connected, so you have to take in account all the numbers, all the differentials. Now, we have, again, we go back 1/6. It means that here more the cationic side is involved, okay? There is more resistance on the cationic side. 6.5 is actually lower than the urine pH. So typically when you have a urine pH, okay, we'll not go into that. It's too complicated maybe for this time, but here you have more cationic, okay? So just, it's not gonna, you're not gonna find it 100% of the time true, but try to start looking at a set of numbers and going by the idea that when you have the more resistance, either it's nitrate or ammonia, there you have your side. It's not all the time true. There are more differentials to take into account, but this is something to start with. Once you start, once you observe, once you go by the numbers and see what they tell you, then you will start to get an idea, okay? So let's just say right here, it's more on the cationic side, okay? So this would mean, do you remember when we talked about the head? So nitrate was on the left side and ammonia was on the right side. Now this is about the brain. It's not about the head. It's only about the brain. Do you remember reading about that the left side of the brain controls right side of the body and right side of the brain controls left side of the body? So I have found that this is the case. 1/6 would show more resistance on the anionic, on the, oh, sorry, wrong, on the ammonia. And ammonia, if you know a little bit of agriculture, ammonia is a cationic nitrogen, okay? Cationic, left side. So what you could be looking at here would be a tumor. It depends on the age, height, and weight, and so on, but most likely you will find it about here. So it could be the spleen, okay? And if I recall correctly, there is a part of the pancreas which also slightly touches the left side. You could have that one too. And at this point, oh, I think the stomach's about here. It would be a little bit higher, but this, a part of the stomach could still be touched, even though it's more to the center. I'm gonna explain how later on how to find which organ is it, okay? Don't rush. You just need to make this idea. Now, I will try to look into the chat right now and see what you guys have in there. Okay, so first, Melita is 4.4, 5.8 over 7.2, 17C, 4m plus 7 over 8. Melita, can you tell me whether this is a woman or a man? Whether we do not take in account all the made up
Yes,
sexes.
it's a male. It's a male and 66 years old, 5'9" height. It was that time was 155 pound. And I took it at 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m.
Once again, what's his height?
It's 5'9".
5'9", 160. So he's like normal weight, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he's 60 years of age. Well, actually, right here it shows likely he had contamination maybe 2 days before the test. So it's not a it's a contaminated test from what I see, but let's just try to go by the same thing. So 5.8 over 7.2, that is about the same thing as 7.0 over 6, so it'd be 6.5. 17C with that amount of sugar, 7.8. Okay, so, and it's more on the, okay. And he's 66, you said, right? Or 60 something.
66.
Okay. Yeah, this guy should already, if he's not complaining of anything, which would be very weird, he will start very soon because his reserve energy is really low. Maybe it's about 40 or something, or 30. And it's actually, once again, this is a no-no, a test which I think it has no-nos. Maybe it's not direct no-nos, but it's contamination, maybe a few days ago. And if I'm right, then you would not get a really precise picture here, but to speak it just generally, he would have problems. I will show you. He would have problems in this area, the same area we spoke right now about. He would have problems in, it could be the heart of the lungs or the lungs, more on the right side. Regarding the head, it would be teeth, right side, maybe a little bit the ear is affected.
Okay.
And what the knees, he is very deficient in vitamin C, so it's very likely he would have a little bit of trouble with the knees. And actually pain in the joints, in the ligaments and all that. And at 5.8, if he does not do anything, he will likely develop some problem with the skin because he's vitamin A deficient.
Okay.
Now, could you tell me which of this is true?
Right on point. He's pre-diabetic and he developed some rashes behind his back and it's kind of rough patches, brown color. And he has a pacemaker, which you talk about it, you said something about the heart. And yeah, definitely vitamin C deficiencies. And I put him on algazome, Mincol, and I just started like berberine, some herbal stuff, and he's taking the tonic. He's he wakes up a few times at night because his sugar drops. He's in the sugar dropping zone.
Mm-hmm.
And just a few days ago, I started vitamin. He has ADHD. I add vitamin B3 to his supplements and Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not successful at onion water because he does not like that. Hello.
Yeah, I understand. I was waiting for you to speak what you wanted to tell. Yeah, it's pretty difficult. I imagine this must be a relative of yours, maybe
Yes.
your father or brother. It's very difficult to work with family because when they don't want to cooperate, there's not much we can do. And unfortunately, some
It's been a
mistakes.
month, but still, I still
Yeah.
staying away from No. He's working so hard.
Yeah, maybe
The pH, the split pH does not move much. It has moved. It started with 5.2 over 7.6. And now it's better. I think it's like 5.8 over 7.4, but still the gap is so big.
it's likely that he still is eating late.
Yes, he does sometimes. Yeah.
And he needs to change all the pans, all the cookware. And besides of that, what I would do, but I would like you to ask you a question. Is he high-tempered? Is he?
Yeah.
Does he get angry real quick?
Yes.
Is he defensive of his territory?
Not much.
Not much, but he is very quick to words. I mean,
Yes.
okay. So
How do you see that from the?
I will explain it later.
Okay, good.
Later on. Okay.
Okay.
What I would do for him if you would like to know my opinion. I don't know. Would you?
Yes, I would. Yeah.
What I would do, I would put him on cayenne 3/3. The reason you're not having any changes with the pHs is because all his system is so clogged up. When people are
He's in a
angry,
cayenne too. Let me just. Yeah, he's on cayenne too.
how much of cayenne?
I give cayenne 3 times a day, and he's taking the capsules with and he's taking thiomega vitamin B1.
How much?
Thiomega he does twice a day.
No, the cayenne. How many?
Cayenne 3 capsules, 1 capsule 3 times a day.
I would go up on 3 capsules 3 times a day with the food. And it's actually better if he first does the capsules and then later on starts to eat. Actually, if it's possible, if it's tolerable for him, I would actually not give him the capsules, but I would actually give him the powder. I would be about 1 level teaspoon in water and 4 ounces of water or 2 ounces. It doesn't matter. As long as he drinks water normally, you can put it in 2 ounces. And dissolve the pepper really good and then take it as a shot, like in one shot. This is actually better for him if you can tolerate it. If he has problem with the stomach, he may start to comply on that is burning him. But if people do not have problems with the stomach, when taking cayenne, they will say they get hot. And what I know, it may seem a paradox, but actually cayenne, it helps for people to calm down. Okay, because it makes you hot, it makes you relax, all the vessels are open and everything's going out. Now, one more thing. Did you tell him to take vitamin E?
Not yet.
I would also put him on vitamin E because the system is so clogged up, it needs to make the blood thin, so it would go in the capillaries. And I would put him on vitamin E 2 or 3 times a day. There is
Okay.
vitamin E, I think, on daily, which should work. I would put
Yeah, I
him
have the
on,
1,000. Yeah, I have the 1,000 unit or 400.
yeah. If he, I mean, I understand if he doesn't want to drink his water, he will very likely not take all the vitamins needed. So what I would do, I would actually buy for him wheat germ oil, and I would tell him to use wheat germ oil with every salad and every meal that he takes. You have the meal
Okay. What
cooked,
does what does it do?
it's the same vitamin E. Wheat germ oil, it's rich in vitamin E.
You kind of,
Yeah, but
okay.
don't cook it. Just when you have it, when you have the meal done, just put 1 or 2 tablespoons on the meal, and he could eat it like that
Okay.
every day.
Oh, okay.
Also, what he could also do is mix the cayenne together with this oil and
Uh-huh.
drink it with water. I mean, you mix the cayenne with the oil and you put a little bit of water, and he could take.
Okay. You said he can put cayenne in water and just drink it before eating.
Yes.
Means like before breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yes, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
And also,
Yeah.
I would make him slow down and maybe have some onion soup. Okay, he needs some vitamin C.
Yes.
And vitamin C also helps him to calm down. What I would also likely do with him, there is a herb called catnip. I would also
Okay.
give him a cup of catnip tea before going to bed. Not right before, but like 2 hours before. There is
Okay.
another herb which in our country is called Levzea. I don't know if you have any in the US. It helps you to go to sleep, helps you not to wake up in the middle at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. when the sugar drops.
Mhm.
And it also helps much like ginseng. It
Oh,
yeah, it's very good from this point
okay.
of view, and it helps to the basic cell exchange.
Okay.
Also
If you
regarding
would write it in the chat, I will just.
well, you could send me a text later, and I will tell you all these things. Okay.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. Yeah.
And regarding the numbers not moving, apart from doing that, you would need to give them a little bit of help with the adrenals, because the adrenals are one of the cause why the numbers would not move.
Mhm.
To help the adrenals, you need a little bit of mincol, you need vitamin B5, and
Yeah.
you need onion soup
Okay.
and rest.
Yeah, he's on main call.
He should rest as much as possible. With these numbers, he could also take time to tan, be in the sun.
Uh-huh.
It could help him very much. And also, if he could take a little bit of vacation and go some quiet place where you have the birds chirping, and where you have, it's very important for him, where you have either the sea with the waves, either a creek or a river where you hear or a water fountain.
Okay.
It's very calming for him.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Valerie.
you're welcome. Let's just try one more. It's a little bit late. I don't want everybody to wait. I see there are a lot of numbers here. Okay, here is the same one. Maybe we just move on because it's taking so much time. I really want to help, and I don't want to make it happen in 2 minutes to say, drink the water and that's it, So any of you who have posted here the numbers, you can send me a text on Facebook with those numbers, and I'll tell you a few things about them. If you need my help with them, send me a text. Right now we'll move on, and here is how I made the conclusions about the heart and about the teeth and about the joints and the knees. Well, as you recall, I've been talking about, if you imagine a wall here also, and if there is a ball, it's gonna go like this. So this is what it does. When you have where you have the first circle is 6.6 and it's 6.0. So top is 6.6, here is 6.0, right? Now, imagine that this circle is the same thing as this circle and as this circle and as another circle here and another here. So if you have it, if the numbers are affected at 6.5 or 6.6, which is right here, right? It's almost the top of this circle. You're gonna have organs affected also at the top of this circle, somewhere around here, okay? Well, it's not actually the top, but it's somewhere about that, okay? It's if it's 6.5, 6.6, as in my example, okay? So it's gonna be the same here, and it's gonna be the same here, all right? If you have 6.6, which goes to the other circle, but it's actually the bottom, then you're gonna have a problem likely here at the bottom of the circle and at the bottom of this circle and at the bottom of this circle and at the bottom of this circle. Does that make sense? So you have another circle here. You have another circle here. In the same way, let's say you have a set of numbers with 7.2 over 7.2. We don't talk about all the rest of the numbers because it could take us a while to examine everything. I just want you to understand the principle, how to look into this diagram of the drawing of the body. So you would make a picture. If you have a 7.2 over 7.2, okay. If you have a 7.2 over 7.2, that is where the teeth are usually located. So this person could have problems with the teeth, okay? And if they have problems with the teeth, most likely they are deficient. Okay, it says, do you hear me? Because it's saying here my connection is not stable. Do you hear me?
You're cutting off.
Okay, what about right now?
It's breaking a bit.
Breaking up.
Okay, yeah, it's because somebody called me and I have a mobile connection here. Right now is good?
Yes.
Now it's better.
Okay, so as I was saying, if you have a 7.2 over 7.2, it means the teeth are affected. Now, you know, if teeth are affected, there is a deficiency of mineral colloids. The hardest parts of the body are affected. It means likely the bones are affected too. If the conductivity is high, it's higher than 20, it's very likely the bone marrow is affected. And in that case, you'd have a iron and vitamin A problem. And in that case, you could be having a anemia problem, okay? Even with more or less good numbers. It could be just showing that it's starting. So we move on. And if the teeth are affected, then you would also have at the same level, it's gonna be the bottom of the lungs and the heart, which is likely to be affected, okay? And the bottom of this circle is about here. You would have, for men, it would be the where the bladder, okay, I forgot what's the name for it, the bladder for the urine collection, okay? And it could also be at 6.2, it could be some of the intestine, the large intestine, okay? 6.2. And then here, it would be just above the knee, right here. If they are high in reserve energy, they would likely not have much complaints about this area, okay? But if the reserve energy would be low in this area, you would have serious issues with blood formation. They could have jaundice, or they could have anemia, or they could have some other stuff that it's related to the blood, because the biggest bones in the body are usually the biggest producers, right, of the blood cells and of any other cells that are also manufactured there. It's largely the blood cells. Sorry, again, they're calling. So this side, and it goes right here, right where the ankles are. So you could know this person would be likely benzene deficient. The modern name for this is beryllium. It's what it's called. The mineral is beryllium. So they will need to eat more cayenne to get this in line. So this is how most of the times you would be able to find where it is. Now, does it make sense for you? Okay.
Maybe another example.
Maybe another. Okay, let's go with another example. So you have, let's say as in Melita's example, you would have a 5.5 over 7.0, okay? And if it's a real legit pH reading, it's not caused by no-nos a lot, it would be, so 5.5 and you have 7.0. If you add them together, it's going to be 12.5 divided by 2. It's going to be 6 over 625, right? If I got it, I think I got it right. So 625. Okay. Do you hear me? Because I got another call. They're so insistent.
Yeah. So you don't weight the pHs. You don't give saliva double the urine pH.
Yeah, it's
You
both
just
of the
take-
pHs. You add them. So if it would be 5 point, how much did I say? I think it was
5.5 urine.
5.5,
7.
yeah. 7.0. So it would be, you add them together, 5.5 and 7.0 is 12.5. You divide them to 2, it would be 6.25. So
Okay, straight average.
yeah, it's the average. So 6.25, it's about the same here. It's just a little bit above the crotch for males, okay? And it would be large intestine, and it could be also the urinary tract. If they have a UTI, they could get this set of numbers, okay? So it's located, you look at the circle and you see where it's located. It's located just below the middle. Well, it's because at the middle is 6.4, 6.25, it's like more or less like 6.3. So you would have it just below this center, okay?
The navel.
So yeah, so you have it here, and then you look at the other circles at the exact same area. It's gonna be here, okay, where you have the breasts. It's gonna be a female. Likely there could be some problems, some congestion, because as you know, with females and the breast, there are major lymphatic nodes. So there can be some congestion in there, some delta cells formation, stuff like that, omega cells. And if we go up, we look at the same zone. It's gonna be the upper teeth, and it could be also the down zone of the nose. Could be the ears affected. I'm gonna explain later on how to see this. So, is it clear now?
Better, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Now,
So you have how many circles? 1, 2, 3, 4 circles.
Yeah, it's 5 circles. One is the
Equal
head.
five serpents.
Yeah, the other one starts with the neck, ends with the solar plexus. The third one starts with the solar plexus, ends with right below the navel, where it ends. Okay, where the cervix is, and then you have from the same area it goes up until the knees, and then this is the fourth circle. The fifth circle it
Okay.
starts with the knees and it goes to the sole of the feet.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
see that.
Now, maybe some of you wonder, how do you tell which organ is it? Now, this is a very interesting question, and I'll try to explain it as simple as possible. Actually, we have, as people, we have our micronages. That's why we are different. We have our background, we have our DNA, which is different. We have many things which are different. But one of the most important things that are different is our psychology. And I will explain you how this connects to the numbers. Actually, if you recall Dr. Reem saying that if you want to have cancer, you need to start hating, right? Why is that? He was speaking about the gastric juices being diluted and so on and so forth. But why? I'll try to explain a little bit why. Now, this is because when you start hating, there are certain parts of the body which are affected. Why? Because from each cell, you have a nerve going to the brain, except the blood cells. The blood cells are not connected to the brain. Okay? So typically, practically they are not cells. Okay? They are corpuscles. So every cell has a nerve going to the brain. Now, in the brain, you have different areas. If you've seen people taking CT scans of the brain while doing this or doing that, while conducting an experiment with various emotions, they found that emotions also, they have their place in the brain. So regarding which emotion you are experiencing, you're gonna have a part or another part of the brain flare up with activity. Now, this means when a part or another part of the brain is flaring up with activity because you have this particular emotion, it's going to affect this part of the brain, and it's also going to affect the cells. How? Well, the command going, we know that pain is when you have a damage to the cell, and when there is actually a continuous message from the brain to the cell, from the brain to the cell. The brain sends a signal. And if the signal is it stops at the cell, if the cell is functioning correctly, the cell is built in such a way that it stops the signal. Now, if it does not stop the signal, that same signal goes from the brain to the cell and it goes back. When it goes back is when we actually feel the pain. So there is all the time there is a connection, there is a signal, there is a communication from the brain to the cell, and so on and so forth. So when people are feeling certain emotions, a part of their brain flares up with activity, and that changes the nature of all the signals going to the cell. When this happens, is that those cells are given certain commands. For example, anger, it prepares somebody for a fight, even if the fight's not happening. Well, the brain doesn't know that. If you imagine a fight, your brain's gonna flare up the same way as you would be fighting. So when you feel the anger, some of the cells, they are put into fight mode. So they are looking for survival, not to build you gastric juice. When you are in stress mode, the gastric juice is not being built because the energy is directed for survival. If you recall a time when some of you may have been into an extreme situation where there was about life or death, how many of you thought, I would eat a hamburger now? Right? No one thinks about it. You just think of surviving. So the same for the body. It doesn't think about making you drink gastric juice. It's thinking about surviving. So in this case, it changes the message sent to the cell, and the cell changes its function. It's switching to war mode, right? So when it does, what you have actually is with anger, this calls for the whole body is turning like a rock. It's turning small, you know, it's turning really tight. So the same with the cells, the blood vessels are start to get narrower, start to get tighter, and the blood's not flowing that well. Okay, so when you have blood not flowing that well for 5 minutes, it's not a big problem. But when this anger, you take it with you every day, then these cells start to live in an environment that's deprived of oxygen, deprived of minerals, deprived of blood flow. And that's why they are failing to execute their functions. And that's why your gastric juice getting more diluted if we talk about anger. And that's why the minerals are not coming into the diet, even though you could have them in your meal. And that's why a certain part of your body will get deprived more than the other parts. And that's why you would have the problem showing up on there. Now, I will try to make this quick because I see it's already going for an hour and almost a half. I could go on, but I realize many of you have other activities. On a Sunday, I try to rest. I could stay a little bit more, but that's why I'll try to keep it short. So what about the other organs? Well, it turns out all of us, as we are different, we are predisposed to fall into the same traps over and over again. Now, there is a theory which is just like Rbti. It also it's very precise, but it's not so much about the physiology as it is about the psychology. So there is a theory which says, which actually shows what our emotions are and how are they supposed to be when they are perfect. Now you could say, hey, you just need to be cheerful and happy. Is it that way? Because there are some persons who, given their level of spiritual development, they don't need to be in the 11 on the sky high, you know, with the emotions. Maybe they just need to be relaxed. Okay, so right here what we have is we are different, and there are 7 types of different psychology, you could say, types, okay, for the people. Now what happens, I have another drawing here. We have the person. This is a very complex, actually it's a very complex concept, but I'll try to put it simple and short. Okay, so we have our guy here. If he does not have any negative emotions, all the signals going to the body, they stay as they should be. They don't have any major problems. Okay, the signal going from the brain to the body and back, they're not distorted. And in this case, if he gets enough mineral in the diet, he will be living to be 100 and happy. Okay, maybe even with perfect numbers. Now, what happens when somebody, besides having a diet which is deficient in minerals, they are also having emotional issues? Okay, as I said, we are predisposed to fall into the same traps, and there are 7 such psychological types. The first one is predisposed to fall into self-humiliation. They always say, oh, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, I'm not too good for this, I'm not too good for that, I don't believe I can do it, I'm not good enough. So this is the trap they fall into. The second type is the victim type. They say, oh, it's not my fault, it's their fault. It's not that I didn't want to do the course today, is that somebody called me and they started telling me about this, about that, and so on and so forth. So basically, what you would find these types to be, I mean, each type has a certain of organs which are more affected. Okay, and the first one, which says I'm not good enough, they usually end up with anemia. Okay, or other conditions which are related to the kidneys. It can be related to the kidneys. Okay, could be related to the pancreas. The second type, which blames everybody and doesn't take responsibility, they are usually the people who come with MS, multiple sclerosis. Okay, and they usually are the ones that have problem with the sex organs. I'm talking about the females more. Okay, and the third type is the greedy type. They're always greedy for something. Okay, they're greedy for money, they're greedy for attention, they can be greedy for love, they can be greedy for to know more people, they can be greedy for knowledge, and they just try to get all the knowledge they can, and they don't even study it at the end. Okay, so the third type, they usually have more problems with a food tract, with digestion. Okay, and the fourth type is the arrogant ones. They think they are better than anyone else, and that type usually they have problem with the heart, with the vascular system. But here it's more on the heart actually, and the vascular system can also be affected for another type, and I'm going to talk later about. Now for this type that's arrogant and he thinks he's the best, what they also have problems with, usually it's the knees. It's a lot of times the knees, not every time, but many times. What they could also have trouble with is neck. They have a stiff neck problems. Okay, and there's a fifth type. So it's what we talk about with Melita, the ones that are, they're not aggressive, but they could be very, I mean, they don't, you know, they, if they have a chance to fight, they will fight. And if there is a reason to pick up a fight, they will pick it up. And these are the persons who, they are impatient, they're always rushing, they're always, if they are walking, they're walking the fastest of everybody. If they are eating, they're eating fast. If they are doing something, they're doing it fast. They have problems with being punctual. Okay, they are late most of the times. And in their case, the organs which are more affected, it's partially also the vascular system, the vessels, blood vessels, a little bit on the heart, but not so much. They could also, what's their most common problem is all the times they get into traumas. They could break a finger, break a leg, break an arm, bruises here, bruises there. I see it says my connection is not, I see my connection is not so good. Do you hear
We
me?
can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
And this is the fifth type. Okay, so it's the impatient one. And then on, what we have is the sixth type, is the one that says nothing matters. They usually fall for the same thing. They think, they just take a look at the person, they take a look at the subject and say, oh, I know how this will end. So this is their error, because if you talk with a person and you talk with them based on what they did and said yesterday, if you talk with them right now, you have to take in account how are they right now, because they may have changed, something may have changed in them. But this kind of person, they say it doesn't matter, nothing matters. They could easily fall into apathy, and they are the ones who are prone to suicide. Okay, so with these guys, you will find a lot of cancer in a lot of ways. They are the most prone types to the cancer. And likely that's why in a household or in a family or in a village, you could be having the same diet for the same family and somebody gets cancer and the other one does not. Okay, and then you have the 7th type. It's actually a special type which can be included in all the previous 6. So the previous 6, you could have the 1st type and the 7th, the 2nd and the 7th, or the 4th and the 7th. It could be in everybody. Now the 7th type is what his error is in that he thinks he knows better, and he thinks he knows it all, and in that he thinks they could get very stubborn. Okay, so it's the stubborn type. The stubborn type, well, the organs that are affected is mostly they get loaded up with salts, they get arthritis. Everything related to arthritis is related to, usually it's related to this type. Okay, and they could also get hardening of the arteries and hardening of the vessels in the brain. It's a lot that happens with them. So that's how mostly how you can tell. There are many other details I could talk about for 2 or 3 hours more, but I will not get into that. I just want you to have a brief idea of all this. Now, if we go back, that's how you find it. You talk with a person, you look at their numbers, and you find their type, and you know which signals from the brain to the cells are most distorted. And if you know the type, you can find the problem. You can zero in. Whether with the liver, you would mostly find the 5th type, the impatient one, that has problems. And if it's the same 6.5, but you have a type that says, I'm not good enough, then likely it's the kidneys or the pancreas affected. Usually people who are impatient, they will not have any problems with the pancreas, and the other way around. Okay, people who say oh, I know it all, the stubborn ones, they would usually not have a lot of problems with many of the other things except arthritis, salts accumulation, and stiffness. Okay, so if you know this, you also know how to counteract it. Like Dr. Reen said, for each ailment there is a counter thing that counters it. Okay, just like for the gallbladder issues, we have the olive oil which dissolves the stones, because it's exactly is the key that matches to the to the lock, and it opens it and makes it flow. For in the exact same way, we have different things for different organs and for different people. Okay, so these are most of the things I wanted to tell you about. I could talk a little bit about the about this graph that I did for you. Okay, so why that happens is because we have this person here. If it's sound, if he doesn't make any errors in perceiving the world, if he's not judging others, if he's not judging himself wrongly, then you have to take in account this is the real world. Okay, and this is us. If this is the real world, okay, we do not perceive the real world directly. You have to take in account this. This is very important. The only way when we can perceive the world directly is when we get rid of all our bad qualities and we go up in level, we turn more spiritual, and once we get rid of all the problems, okay? Imagine, typically a person may look like this, okay? Typically, a person may look like this. Okay, the dark spots you see right here, they are the loss of energy. Okay, as seen in the energetical body or in the field body, which Dr. Reams talk about. Now, these loss of energy, they're connected to certain organs and mineral deficiencies. So by balancing mineral deficiencies, you can also address psychological state. You can also address emotion problems, depression, and all that. People who have depressions, they are usually in the upper zone, okay, B, C, pH range, okay, could go high as 7, the urine pH, or even higher. And people who are in the low pHs, about 5 or that, depending on their psychological type, they could be very fearful. They are stressed and they are exhausted. They are struggling to live. They are trying to survive. And that happens because they're calcium deficient, because they're boron deficient, and all that. But they also have these problems. So if you address the diet and these problems at the same time, you could speed up the whole thing. Okay. Now, taking account, we do not view the world directly. We first look at, we make it ourselves a picture of the world, and then we look at this picture. Okay. So if you correct all the psychological distortions, then you could correct the the mineral deficiencies faster. And actually, it's not about the mineral deficiency. You could, with your own power, if you know Rbti well, like Doc, right? Or like other people that are alive today and help other people, okay? Like Jason, you could, with your own power, give them all the minerals and it would correct their mineral deficiency if the distortion is not too hard, it's not too high, okay? It could correct their mineral deficiency. But later on in life, they'll leave you with good numbers, and 2 months later, they end up with the same numbers or end up with similar numbers. So my point here, we'll go all the way back from where we started. My point here is that we have a person going in life. And when you meet them, if you meet them here, or if you meet them here, okay, you give them minerals, you give them the diet, you give them the water. If they are ready to change, they will change. If they understand that a person's purpose on earth is to better himself and better the world around, is to live for the eternal, is to live for the purpose that God intended for us, okay? If the person understands this, they're ready to change. People who are not ready to change, there are those people that either they are so distorted they can't even think clear, or their diet is so bad they can't even think clear, or it could be people that they don't believe they were put on this earth by a God who intended them to have a life full of joy and full of beautiful creations that they could assist at, to build a beautiful house, to to make good produce, high bricks produce, that they could have the other persons eat it, and then at their turn making other beautiful things. So if you meet a person and you only talk about them, about the diet and the pills and everything else, you will be able to help, but you will be able to help only a part of them. Now, to help more people, you have to learn more about life. Sometimes they don't need 10 times of pills, 10 times of vitamins and minerals. Sometimes they need a pat on the back and say, hey, you matter in this world, and there is a place for you in this world, and God put you here because he intended you to have a life of joy, and he intended you to have you on this earth so you could help other people. Okay. So I understood that if I talk with the person, not only about vitamins and minerals, but also about this, is how we can help them more. Now, with this psychology types and all that, you can also not only help a person better, I mean, improve from their ill state, but you can also, this system allows you to become better yourself. Okay, we have, besides having 7 psychological types, I thank you for being very patient, but this is, I'm near at the end of it, so if you would like to stay for a few more minutes, I want to say to you one more important thing about this system. Okay, and this probably is gonna turn the RBTI all the way around for some of you. Okay, so in this system we have not only 7 types, which could go for the people, but we have 7 ages of the people. Now the age, as you know, we have toddlers, right? If we talk about the physical body, we have toddlers, we have children, we have teenagers, we have young men and young women, and we have adults, and then we have sages or wise men, and then we have something that is above that. Now this method speaks that a person not only has an external age, which is their physical body, okay, it starts for everybody the same, but we also have a internal age, which is the age of our soul. Now we have people who could live their whole lives and be a toddler inside. They cannot take any responsibility, and they usually need to be supervised in everything they do. They need to have their meal cooked for them. They need to tell them from time to time to change their clothes, to take a shower, because they cannot account for themselves. Okay, so these are the toddlers. Okay, so most of the people, we have them on the next stage. This is the child level inside. The children, we have most of the people living on earth right now, they're mostly children on the inside. They could have 50 years, 70 years, 100 years, doesn't matter. If they are on the child level, how can you track them? They almost never change their religion, their tradition, and their convictions. If you tell them pork is not good, well, they're gonna say, well, my father ate pork, and my grandfather ate pork, and so on and so forth. Many of my ancestors before that, so I'm not gonna give up on it just because you tell me it's bad. Even if you show me a test says it's bad, I'm not gonna do it because that's how my father did it. So they follow rules. They like rules, and they are those who say, well, if you say pork is bad, why haven't they been telling about it on the television? If it's not on the TV, then it's not right, right? So what's strict also about the children, they usually eat the same thing, and what their ancestors ate, and they are not prone to change. And it's almost useless to tell them about spirituality. It's almost useless to tell them about that their old grudges they fought with their mother 10 years ago. It's affecting their numbers right now. It's useless to tell them that. They'll look at you and think you're off. Okay, so with these people, usually you just tell them, if they are religious, if they have a religion, okay, you tell them, look, in the Bible it says, or in the Quran it says, or in the whatever their religion is. If they're Buddhist, you say, here, you have a rule from your higher religious leader, right? And you say, he told you not to get angry. Why do you get angry? You know, he told you. I'm not telling you this. He told you. Or you say you're eating pork and pork is good for you. Well, look in you have in your Quran or in your you have in your Bible saying pork is not good. Why do you do it? You know? So this could be this could be a very good argument for them, a very good point for them. If you tell them pork is bad because the numbers say so, if you're not Dr. Reams, or if you don't have a if you don't have the two letters before your name saying doctor, they're not going to believe you. They believe, you know, if you're not a doctor, they're not going to pay attention to you. If you were not on the TV, you're nobody. Okay. So the next level is the teenagers. The teenagers, they are the ones who have, actually, they have no authority over them. Whatever you say to them, if it fits their interest, they live with interests. Okay. They are the ones who go for more money, for more power, for more influence over people. They want to be the best of the best. And they are, you could say, the masters of the physical plane. They don't believe so much in spirituality, although they know such thing exists and blah, 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 and somebody does it, but it's not for them. Now, you could motivate them to change their ways, to follow a diet, to drink the water by saying, look, if you don't do this, in 10 years, you're going to be an old, ill man or woman who's not going to be able to get up from, going to be able to get up from the bed. And if you do this diet, you could follow it. Let's say you follow it for 1 month. If you don't get better, you could say I'm a quack. Okay. So you could give them a deal. They like to have an interest in something. Okay. And you don't need to be a doctor to chat with these guys, to convince them. If you have practical, fast solutions, they will listen to you. Now, the next level is the young men, young women. These are the people who already have some success in the physical plane. They have a house, they have a job, they have some money, they have all this, but it does not interest them. They look for God. They start looking for God. They start looking for spirituality. And unfortunately, this is the kind of people that have a lot of confusion in their mind and in their heart. Okay. So this happens is because they are insecure about what they know, because they were once teenagers at the level of the inner level, and then something happened to them, or they passed through some change, and they were proven that God exists. They were proven that there is something higher than the physical plane, and because of this, they might become unsure about everything else. So you could tell them about grudges affecting their numbers. They will listen. You could tell them about God. You could tell them about everything else, because they will listen and they will pay attention. And from there on, these people, they don't have much success in life, only because they get so, the doc used to say, you could have, keep an open mind, but don't let it be so open that your brains fall out. Okay. So this is about the young people, because they get so open-minded that they get confused about everything else, and they just don't know onto what to hold. They are not sure what is true and what is false. Now the next level is the adult level. And the adult level, he already knows about most of the things, and he's a master in his own life. He is usually very successful in what he does. He knows about God, and he looks for God, but not in a hypothetical way as the young man would do. He looks for God in everyday life. He looks at the flower and may see God in that flower, or in that bird chirping, or in the people they meet. And at this, why I'm talking about the adult right now, because at the adult level, people usually don't have major problems with the physical body. They don't have problems with the illness a lot. Okay, the most difficult number wise and let's say with illnesses, most difficult people you will meet are mostly the children, teenagers, and maybe the young people. At the adult level, you will find rarely somebody who is seriously ill. Now, the adult, he has most of the things sorted out, and the adult is concerned already very, very serious. He's concerned with the godly. He looks for God and he tries to implement God in whatever he does. Okay, he combines the physical with the material. And to be at when somebody gets at the adult level, they can see what is not what is little obvious to somebody. He can see the hidden. Okay, that's how you can get good at RBTI. If you raise in level, you're gonna get more and more understanding, and once you get to the adult level, you're gonna see how everything comes into one, how everything is connected. This lesson was so good, I forgot to drink my water. Now, what's most interesting is the next level is called the wise man level, the sage. Now, on this level, the people are already connected to God. They're connected every day and all the time. And here is where the wonders start to happen. Here is, I believe Dr. Reams was partially at this level, and that's why he was so good with the numbers. That's why he was able to only look at the set of numbers and tell everything about the person. It's because the secrets are starting to be open for the wise people, okay? And these people are very much filled with love. They are very much filled with righteousness. And they are representing God daily, not only when they remember about him, but they carry God in their heart and they try to help as much people as possible. And this does not mean that all the people who are this level, they are pacifists and they do not fight. They can fight. I may be wrong, but I think they can also go to war, but they go to war only having God in their heart and know that they fight for a right cause. And what's interesting about this wise man level is that they do not have any problems with the health. They don't have any problems with the health at all whatsoever. And they can see in a person, they can talk to you 2 minutes and tell you your whole life, how you've been. They see you from the inside, okay? And if you wish to get to grow up and become who God intended you to become, you have to put effort. What I explained today, it's a system, it's a method of seeing the numbers, seeing the organs, so on and so forth. But this doesn't mean you don't have to study anatomy. This doesn't mean you don't have to look into biochemistry. You have to study everything. Dr. Ream said, take 2 hours daily and study all this stuff. Not only what he wrote, everything. You have to study anatomy, physiology, and so on and so forth. You have to study, if you are Christian, study your Bible. If you are Muslim, study your Quran. If you are a Buddhist, study your Buddhist text, okay? Besides studying RBTI and everything else, we have to keep our distortions down, because when we keep our distortions down, it's when we are succeeding in getting real knowledge. That's when the numbers will be open to us. That's when we will see and we will know how to help everybody or most of the persons that we meet in the fastest and easiest way possible. Okay? You could help somebody by giving them 20 supplements and having them on the clock and controlling them, but maybe they don't need perfect numbers. Maybe you want perfect numbers from them. Maybe they don't need them. My connection is somebody called me right now, and my connection, it was written, it was off. Is it good right now? Okay. So maybe this person, they don't need the perfect numbers you want to give them. Maybe they don't need it, they don't deserve it. Okay? But maybe they need to get rid of the problem. Maybe they have a heart condition, maybe they have high blood pressure. So somebody who would be like a teenager, or maybe a young man, would try to make, young people, they would try to make this person perfect. Maybe they don't need to be perfect. Maybe they just need to be as good as they need to be to go on and complete what mission God gave them on this earth. Maybe they just need to get their heart in good condition so they would work and provide for their families. Now, this is most of the things I wanted to tell you as of this moment, as of today. And if it's any interest to you, I would actually create a course which is going to treat more in detail all this. We are not going to talk so much about the numbers on the course, although all questions on the numbers, we will have them discussed as much as I can. I will help you. And whatever you may have about it, we can talk about the numbers also, and I believe we will to some extent. But what I want to make this course about, as I have promised, I think Rebecca and somebody else, as before, maybe last year, I was talking about this. On this course, we will be having a discussion about all this. We will talk about how different psychological types are affected, about which organs are affected and which way, and how to fix it, how to improve it. And we will also talk about in detail about each and every one of the psychological types. You should be able to find your own psychological type, and you should be able to find the things you mostly stumble on, the things you mostly, the things you are mostly wrong in, or things you mostly fall for, like, okay, things your most usual traps, to say, emotional traps, psychological traps, mental traps. Okay, so on this course, we would talk about this. We would talk about how to improve it, how to make it work for every one of you, how to improve your life. And as we talk about this, you should be able to apply it to help other people, because I believe we cannot help other people before we help ourselves. Why is that? Let's say you have something like this, okay? Let's say some of you, maybe not everything that's black here, but some of the things that are black here. You have it like this. Now, you do not perceive the world directly. You first make a picture of the world, okay? We first make a picture of the world, and then we take a look at this picture and decide how the world is for us. Because you ask 100 people, how is the world right now? Well, some may say it's great. Others may say it's cruel. The world is cruel. Others will say, well, the world is a beautiful place to be. The others say, this is hell. This is hell. Why? Because they have different pictures of the world. The world is still the same for everybody, but we have different pictures. Now, when you will clear up these things, you will also clear up this picture. And the more this picture is going to match with how the world is, the more you will see things for what they really are. and seeing things for what they really are give you an exact or a precise picture of how actually the world is. When you see a precise or a good picture of how the world is, then you can see a good picture in the numbers. So this is mostly everything I wanted to say today. I thank you for being here. And later on, you could let me know in the text on the Facebook if you want to get enlisted for this course. Depending on how many people are going to be in it, it's going to be the price is going to be a little higher or lower. I think if there's going to be enough people, we can get it to cost less than 100, maybe something between $50 and $100. The course is going to run for about 1 or 2 months, depending on how many people's going to be in it and what are you going to be interested in. And yeah, for regarding today's lesson, there is on the Facebook post, I have an email address there. If you want to make some donations, they're welcome. Now, right now, I would ask who of you have any questions, except the numbers. If you have questions on the numbers that you sent to me, you could send me on the Facebook, and I'll give you my advice if that's what you seek.
I'm just wondering how easy it is to clear up your personal view of the world when all your history was made up that picture of the world. How do you erase that picture and you all come to the same view of the world when everybody has had different history? Sorry, it's noisy here. I'm going to mute myself again.
Look, I just have a hard time hearing you. Are you asking how to erase the distortions?
Yes, your previous history is what makes up your view of the world. And I find it difficult to understand how everybody connects with the view of the world, given that they all had different histories coming to the present time.
I don't think I understand what you said. The connection just broke off. As you can see, I'm in the middle of the woods here. Okay, so I just moved here a couple of weeks back. It's we have houses. I mean, I don't sleep in the forest, but we have a house. We have a house down here, but it's still a bad connection. So if you could be nice to repeat it once again, maybe more closer to the microphone, if you could.
I don't know where the mic is on my phone. I was just concerned or don't understand how everybody can come to the same view of the world, given that
Okay.
everybody.
Okay, I got you. Actually, it's a good question. It's not the same view of the world. I mean, it's just seeing for the world for what it really is. Actually, the psychological types, you do not lose them. Once you clear them up, you don't lose them. You just bring them to their initial clean vibration. So for example, the first type, which I said, their most common error is being unsure in themselves and think they're not good enough. When they clear up everything, they get a good quality in persistence. They can do the same thing, the same job over and over again, and they are really, really modest. Their clean quality are modesty. They become very modest, okay? So they will not get exactly the same picture because they're different. They still get some here and there, but they're gonna see things for what they really are. For example, if somebody comes to you and says hello, now if in that moment your view is distorted, you may think, oh, this person was so rude, you know, and maybe they actually weren't rude. Maybe that's how they speak. You just don't know them because you never met them before, you know? Maybe that's how they speak to their children when they are really nice to them, you know, but because their tone of voice is such and such, because they are, you know, their micronage of their bodies is such and such, they have such a timbre of voice, you think they were rude. They are actually not. Now, in this case, whatever your psychological type might be, it's seeing things for what they really are. You know, it's just that you're seeing things for what they really are. It doesn't mean we never became the same, because God did not made us the same. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay, see Val. Okay, Huria. Yeah, there will be a recording if you will want to. If you will want to watch it over again, you should be able to do it. Okay. I will post a link maybe later on. I see this is being recorded, so no issue about it. Is there anybody else who has questions? Okay, sure, Luke. Yeah, I will put the recording up there. Day of the week, Sue, it depends. We will try to look. I mean, I'm flexible right now, and we'll try to look a day that most of you would be comfortable with. Maybe weekends, if that's what's gonna work. And regarding the time, also, the time that most of the people are going to be on the course is going to be more comfortable for them. I believe that's going to be US mostly, so the times that's more comfortable for you guys. Sunday morning. Yeah, I like this idea. Sunday is great. Sunday is the day to speak about God. And I don't know how it is in your part, but in my country, on the Sunday, it's the day that we should leave to rest and leave to talk about God. Okay. If you would maybe right now you don't have your questions, but later on, if you'll think about it and you'll have some questions, you can send me on the Facebook. I'll try to answer as best as I can. And I thank you for being here. And I hope this helps you. With the numbers, I told you basically regarding this diagram, it's I told you basically all of it. You just need to study, get the physiology book, get the tapes, get the anatomy, get everything, and study, and it's gonna come up. Everything that is good, everything that is for the grace of God, is not achieved easily. Anyone who tells you it's achieved easily, they're misleading you mostly of the times. Anything that matters, anything that is of God, it's hard to get. It's difficult.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Yeah, you're welcome. I see Wendy asking about the nitrate. Nitrate is the head. Well, the nitrate is on the left, but it's only concerning the brain, only the brain. If we talk about nose, teeth, chin, ears, it's going to be on the right. Okay. So nitrate, left side of the brain, right side of the body. Ammonia, right side of the brain, left side of the body. that's how it is. That's how I found it to be. If you find anything else, let me know. I would be, if what you find is really true and works, I would be grateful if I would have the chance to learn from you. Thank you, everybody, and have a good one. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.